Look, relationships aren't always as straightforward as we'd like them to be, especially in today's world of constant distractions and options. You think she's with you and you're the only guy on her mind, right? But what if I told you that sometimes there are subtle, almost invisible signs that she might actually be seeing someone else? And no, I'm not talking about the obvious stuff like sudden secrecy or being glued to her phone. I'm talking about things that you never think to question, right? Little behaviors that on the surface seem harmless, even normal. But when put together, they tell a completely different story. A story where you are not the main character. That's right, guys. You could be her plan B. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to create suspicion or jump to conclusions or mess up your relationship. I just want you to know what to look for so you can be real with yourself. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the not so obvious signs that she might be keeping someone else around. The signs that most guys miss because they don't see them coming. Okay, let's get into it. All right, let's talk about this first because it's one of the hardest to spot, but one of the most telling of all the signs. Number one, her affection starts feeling scripted. I'm talking about when the warmth, the spark, the little moments of genuine connection just aren't there anymore. She might still say all the right things, but something about the way she does it feels forced and almost like she's following a script. Let me put it this way. When someone is genuinely invested in you, their affection is alive, okay? It's spontaneous, it's full of energy, it makes you feel connected. But when her affection becomes like a checklist, a quick hug, a casual I love you, a half-hearted kiss, you start to notice the difference. It's like she's just going through the motions to keep things stable, but her heart isn't fully with you. And here's where it gets tricky. She might still be telling you what she thinks you want to hear. Maybe she's saying, I miss you or I care about you, but there's no real feeling behind it. It's almost mechanical. And the worst part, she might even be doing so to avoid suspicion, to keep you feeling secure while she's somewhere else emotionally or even physically. Think about the little ways she used to show you that she cared. Maybe she reached out for your hand without thinking. She looked at you with a spark in her eyes, or remembered the tiniest details about what makes you happy. Now, if her affection feels rehearsed, like she's putting on a performance, it's a red flag. She might be keeping up appearances with you because deep down her emotional energy is going elsewhere. And I get it, it's tough to acknowledge this. No one wants to feel like they're on the receiving end of a half-hearted performance, but if you feel like her affection is lacking that spark, if it's not making you feel connected like it used to, it's a sign she's emotionally checked out. And once that emotional distance sets in, it often means that there's someone else occupying the space in her heart where you used to be. Now, I'm not saying you need to confront her immediately. I am saying start observing, taking mental notes, and trusting yourself enough to see things as they really are. Because you deserve a real, authentic connection. And if she's not giving you that, and you're noticing these subtle shifts, it's better to acknowledge it than to live in denial. Okay? Number two, her schedule suddenly becomes unpredictable. Now, at first glance, it might not seem like a big deal, right? Life gets busy, plans change, people have things to do. But if she used to be super consistent, always free at certain times or eager to make plans with you, and now she's all over the place, that's a signal. Think about it. If someone is genuinely into you, they'll make time. But when someone is trying to juggle multiple people or keep certain options open, suddenly their calendar doesn't look so straightforward. She's not just unavailable, she's randomly busy. One minute she's saying she can't make it on Friday, and then she's available last minute on Sunday, but only for a short time. Here's the thing. When you're important to someone, they make plans around you, not without you. But when her availability becomes unpredictable and sporadic, that's her hedging her bets. She's keeping her schedule flexible enough for someone else and trying not to let you catch on. The worst part, you're left feeling like she's just spontaneous or busy, but in reality, it's more likely she's balancing you with someone else. I know this might seem like it's just her being flaky, but trust your instincts here. Women don't suddenly shift like that for no reason. If she's not giving you clear, consistent time, she might just be keeping her options open. And when her behavior starts feeling random or inconsistent, that's a subtle yet powerful sign that she might not be fully invested in you yet. Sign number three, her behavior on social media. Now, I'm not saying you need to turn into a detective, but if she's suddenly curating her online presence in ways that don't quite add up, it's worth noticing. Because let's face it, social media is a window into how people want to be seen, and sometimes it's a mirror into what's happening in their private lives. So here's what you're looking for: changes in her content. I mean, maybe she used to post pictures of the two of you together, but now it's all solo shots, or even worse, shots with captions that scream single life. Right? If she's suddenly posting more selfies, going out with friends, or even adding in those cryptic captions like living my best life or finding myself, that's a signal. She's not just doing it for herself. She's likely sending a message to someone else. And let's not overlook the classic move, the story updates, okay? You know, those subtle, I'm out having fun posts with quick shots of her at a new spot, dressed up laughing. It might seem harmless, but when there's a sudden spike in these kind of posts, especially if they're strategically timed to late nights or weekends, it's like she's putting out a look at me signal. If she's seeing someone else, it's a way to hint at her availability, or even worse, a way to get someone's attention without being obvious. I know this might sound small, but these social media shifts actually reveal a lot. Think about it. When you're into someone, you're not going out of your way to look like you're available to the world. But when her feed starts reflecting the solo, independent, look at me vibe, there's a reason for it. And don't ignore it. She's not just posting for fun, she's creating an image, and that image might not include you. Here's the bottom line. Social media doesn't lie, and people often reveal what they're really thinking through their posts without even realizing it. Number 4, her behavior with her phone around you. Now, I know what you're thinking. Phones are private, and we all value our space. But there's a difference between privacy and secrecy. When someone's got nothing to hide, they're usually pretty relaxed around their phone. But if she's suddenly treating her phone like a classified document, that's when you need to start paying attention. For example, you're sitting together, her phone buzzes. Instead of just checking it casually, she flips it over. Or she suddenly stops replying to texts around you, only to become glued to her phone the second that you leave. These aren't just habits, they're tells. I'm telling you, if she used to be open with her phone, letting it sit openly on the table, texting while you're around, and now she's guarding it like a hawk, that's a shift that you shouldn't ignore. It's subtle, sure, but it's significant. She's trying to keep you out of something. It might be something as simple as hiding certain messages or notifications, but when someone starts to act secretive with their phone, they're guarding more than just their privacy. Say you casually reach for her phone, maybe to check the time or look up something that you were both talking about, and she tenses up or pulls it away. That reaction speaks volumes. It's like she's putting up a wall between you and a part of her life that she doesn't want you to see. And if she's seeing someone else, guess where the evidence is probably going to be? Right there on that screen. I know it might sound harsh, but think about it. When someone's emotionally open with you, they're not going to flinch every time their phone buzzes. They're not going to suddenly lock everything down. If she's acting this way, there's a reason. And whether it's to keep messages hidden or avoid questions, it's not a good sign. It's like she's living a double life, and her phone is the doorway. Now, before you jump to conclusions, remember this, okay? This is about looking at patterns, not one-off moments. And it's better to trust your instincts and recognize these signs than to sit back and ignore that gut feeling that something just doesn't add up. You deserve transparency, okay? You deserve someone who's open with you and doesn't feel the need to keep secrets. So if you're noticing this, please don't brush it off. Recognize it and start paying attention to the other signs as well. Sign number 5, she's no longer curious about your life. Now, this might seem small, but it's a huge red flag. If she used to be invested in you, asking questions about your day, your friends, your goals, essentially making an effort to understand you, and that suddenly changes, it's worth paying attention to, okay? You see, when someone is genuinely interested in you, they'll want you to know about what goes on with them. But if she's got someone else in her life, or if her interest is divided, you'll notice that shift. It's like she's going through the motions, responding to what you say, but without that genuine spark of curiosity. She'll listen, but she won't dig deeper. She won't ask follow-up questions, and her responses might even feel forced. Here's an example. Say you mentioned that you're working on a big project at work, okay? Before, she would have wanted to know every detail, asking how it's going, how you're feeling about it, or even giving you pep talk. Now, she just nods, gives you a quick, oh, that's nice, and moves on. It feels like she's there, but her mind is somewhere else, and maybe with someone else. When a woman's attention shifts like that, it's often because she's emotionally checking out or redirecting her emotional energy towards another person. And look, I know how confusing this can be. It leaves you wondering if you're imagining things or overreacting, but this behavior doesn't just come out of nowhere. Take it from me. This lack of curiosity, that dwindling desire to connect deeply, it's a sign that she's not just as emotionally invested as she once was. I know this can hurt. It feels like she's distancing herself without actually saying it. but don't ignore it. If she's no longer interested in the things that make you you, she might be sharing that connection with someone else. Number 6, she's hesitant or vague when it comes to making future plans with you. Now here's why this matters. When someone is genuinely invested, okay, they look forward to a future with you. They're excited about the possibilities, even if it's just a weekend away or planning what movie to see next month. But if she's seeing someone else, you'll notice that hesitation, a reluctance to commit to anything down the road. Think about it. You're talking about a trip together, something you used to do all the time, but now she responds with, "Oh, let's see," or "I don't know if I'll be free then." She gives vague excuses or just says she's unsure. It's like she's keeping things up in the air. And it's not because she's too busy, it's because she's mentally holding space for something or someone else. Look, I know how confusing this can be. It leaves you in this limbo where you're constantly waiting for her to confirm, always hoping that she'll say yes to those plans. But ask yourself, why is she suddenly afraid to make plans that would tie her to you for a longer stretch of time? Seriously. If she's not picturing a future with you, even in the smallest ways, she might be picturing it with someone else, and that's the harsh truth. And guys, here's the tricky part. It's not that she's actively avoiding you. She might even say, "I still want to be with you," but the commitment just won't be there. She's hedging her bets, keeping one foot out the door, and that's a powerful signal that something is not right. It's almost like she's stalling on a deeper level, unsure if she really wants to invest fully into this. So if you're feeling this hesitation, if she's suddenly too busy to make plans or dodging conversations about the future, you want to trust those instincts of yours. All right? You're not being paranoid, you're respecting your time and knowing when to spot the signs that she's drifting. I know it's tough to face the reality that someone you care about might not be as invested as they once were. But you deserve someone who's eager to be part of your future, not someone who's holding you at arm's length, waiting for something better to come along. So fellas, here's the hard truth. Relationships can get complicated, and sometimes people drift. But if you're noticing these signs, it's better to confront them than to ignore them. Trust your gut. I mean, if something really, really feels off, it probably is. Now, don't go all detective on her just yet. Just observe. Watch for these subtle cues and let them guide you. If she's truly invested in someone else, it's better to know than to wonder. As always, keep your standards high and your eyes open. And if this video opened your eyes a bit or helped you connect some dots, don't forget to hit that like button so I know, and subscribe for more of such videos, because trust me, there's always more to learn about relationships, and you deserve to be with someone who's all in with you. Until next time, stay smart, stay sharp. Jessica OS here. Cheers.